My name is George Sebastian. I'm CTO ecosystem within Huawei. We're going to be spending the next 15 to 20 minutes maximum, and during this time, I'll try to give a bit of justice on some of the things that I think are extremely important in relationship to the Internet of Things. And I just titled the talk, Are We Ready? So there's some really, I think, critical points that we need to address, and I think if we address them, then it becomes easier to move forward. Next. This is just a disclaimer slide I always put. This is knowledge transfer. This is not trying to sell you or promote anything. So this is my opinion, not the company's opinion. And I invite you to also research these topics further once you get whether you happen to be government, educational, or private organizations. So I'll be covering some elements in terms of cyber threats, integration, leveraging of data, and finally end-to-end solution that I think is important. Next. So is the IoT here? In reality, actually it is. I mean, if we go to some people's houses, IoT has been slowly crawling into our lives, whether it's doing it through our TV, whether it's actually doing it through our mobiles, or through the IP-connected devices that we have introduced into our homes. Of course, one thing is to put them into our lives. The second thing is to actually ensure that we do it in a safe way. So really, IoT is really about many things. On one sense, there's devices. These devices generate extremely large amounts of data. Then this data obviously needs to be analyzed, consumed, and then sometimes delivered to mobile devices. So it brings a lot of elements together. So each of these elements is potential areas for risk, and those need to obviously be addressed. So when we talk really about IoT, there's an element of what I sometimes call uncontrolled connectivity. It's a good idea to put an IP address on everything, but the question is how you manage it in an effective way and in a secure way, because in some cases, the IoT device may be a car, or maybe the medical device that you have attached to your body. So the implications of this technology are much greater, and I'll highlight this even further in other areas of IoT. So, can the IoT that we use today get hacked? Although this is not a pure hacking course session, I run a one-day course on IoT hacking, but here we can hack the lights of your house. So maybe we can change the colors of the mood of how your evening is going to go about. We can hack the fridge. Remember, somebody mentioned earlier that that fridge can order things when it runs out of goods. Guess what? People hack that fridge to actually become an email spammer. So the thing that was designed to be a good thing, all of a sudden, is creating a lot of trouble in the process. You have maybe a smart device that actually monitors the temperature of your house, Nest, and this device can adjust based on the usage of electricity. As you know, we have a big electrical problem in Pakistan. 50% of the electricity somehow manages to disappear. So having a way of better and more efficiently managing this electricity would be extremely important. So even those devices got hacked. Obviously, some of these hacks actually require physical access to the device. Not all hacks can actually be done 100% remotely. There was a healthcare question earlier. Peacemakers have had IoT capability for a number of years already. We're talking over 5 years. So it means people put an IP address on that pacemaker. Now, what does that really mean? The pacemaker is actually transmitting telemetry information from your heart to the cardio surgeon, which is responsible for your health. And it monitors that, and the cardio surgeon can make the decision to give you some electrical pulses to restart your heart in the right rhythm. This is the good thing about it. The bad thing about it is you can hack the device and actually give somebody a remote heart attack. One of the previous vice presidents of the US had actually one of these implemented. And they were so extremely concerned about the risks associated with this technology that they actually removed the remote access for these capabilities. We drive cars today. When we talk about Tesla, Tesla is a pure IoT car. The data and sensors element play a much more important element than just simply the driver itself. The car makes decisions about what to do next. Shall I brake? Shall I accelerate? Shall I turn left or right? To actually preserve the life of the person driving the car. But then this IoT device with AI has to make some important decisions. Which life is more important, the driver of the car or the pedestrian, which is going to be hit if I try to protect the life of the driver? So there's some really serious ethical implications that government officials need to address in this IoT implementations. Next, please. But I mentioned that this goes much beyond that. We have nuclear plants, we have manufacturing plants, we have water treatment plants. All of these have not just IoT, they have what we call IIoT, which stands for Industrial IoT. So this Industrial IoT implementations are much larger and much higher risks in what it can do. So that means I can go and transform or respond to the temperature in a nuclear plant and potentially cause a nuclear disaster remotely to happen. Or I can maybe change the mixture of what you drink in your water and cause potentially health hazards to a lot of individuals around you. So the industrial IoT has much higher, greater risks that actually need to be addressed because this is what we call critical infrastructure of the country. Next, please. Now, when we really talk about IoT over the next few years, we're going to be talking about 31 billion devices connected by the year 2020. And I think these numbers are actually probably highly conservative. I wouldn't be surprised if the number exceeds these by at least a factor of 10, if not more. So you can quickly imagine the management that needs to be in place to ensure that this actually gets done in an extremely safe way. So, what are some three important elements about IoT cybersecurity? We have to design IoT devices from the beginning with security in mind, not just release them into the wild without having those capabilities. Remember, IoT is everywhere. So that means you're going to have to start upgrading your fridge, you're going to have to start upgrading your TV, you have to start patching your car. You remember when you had Windows in your desktop? How many times did you upgrade your Windows to patch it almost every 2 weeks? So now you're not talking just about patching your Windows. You're talking about patching your fridge, your TV, your watch, your pacemaker, and everything else I mentioned a bit earlier. There's important elements of device authentication. I think blockchain can play an extremely important role in this, addressing data flows and volumes. And of course, you need to put these maintenance elements into the life cycle of the device. Next, please. So, critical elements we have to address. I've mentioned security, but this is not just enough. You need to address things like connectivity, platform, how to monetize the data that is generated by IoT, and then to have a successful ecosystem for solution. Since IoT devices generate large amounts of data, we also have to address the balance between the volume of data that is generated, the battery life, and many of the other elements. So we have to combine effectively various wireless technologies that enable us to make this combination between coverage, capacity, and performance. So there is no perfect IoT device. We're doing some pilots today in Dubai about what we call smart parking. So what we have installed on the ground is parking IoT devices that live for a period of 7 years, which should be plenty enough. They have 2 sensors in them. One is a metal sensor for the car, the other one is an optical sensor. And they talk directly with the cellular tower or 5G. We call this technology Narrowband Iot because it transmits very small amounts of information. Next slide, please. So when we create all this solution and architecture for IoT, we need to address on one side what happens in the device itself in terms of sensors, the operating system. So here there's a version of Android that we call LightOS, which is open source and enables us to provide the necessary approach to develop applications and data transmission from those IoT devices. This information then gets transmitted either via traditional gateways or 3G to 5G to your cloud data centers, etc. So from there you can launch applications like smart transportation, manufacturing, oil and gas, smart cities, smart telephony, or any others. Some elements that are important here on one side is how do we go about developing IoT applications. Today, time to market is extremely important. So we have created toolkits that enable us to deliver IoT applications in days instead of weeks or months. This is called fusion stage. On the other side is the capability to analyze this data. This is what we call big data. It allows us to take structured and unstructured data and turn it into valuable information that we can make decisions about. Next, please. So IoT, along with analytics, big data, and machine learning and AI, I call it actually big data 3.0, because we don't have enough analysts. So AI came about. Why don't we make the computer complement the skills of the analyst? So with IoT, we start monetizing information in a completely different way. So this brings us completely different business models than we did not have before. How many people here has got a smartwatch today? 1, 2, see, very small amount of people. Why only 1 or 2 people have smartwatch? Because they're extremely expensive. But IoT can introduce new models that are not available before. So let me give you an example. Insurance companies today are making you an offer. We give you the smartwatch for free, but on one condition. The IoT data that gets collected by that smartwatch gets transmitted back to that insurance company. Is that a good offer? Would you use that smartwatch? Because everybody wins. You get a smartwatch, you get more healthy. The insurance company can actually charge you the correct insurance premium based on whether you do enough exercise or you do the right thing.
What about spying? That what you spying?
It's sort of
There's some risks
spying.
associated with that, but I will not get it. So,
That is what
I think in the world of IoT, there's no such thing as privacy. I think we live in an open world. The world is flat, as we call it. So this creates a lot of potential monetization. When we talk about big data, open source plays an extremely important role with things like Adobe, Spark, and Storm. So I invite you to read about this big open data engine that provide that. To finalize my presentation, I think some elements is important. The notion of ecosystem. You'll not be able to do everything by yourselves when you generate this. So you're going to need to bring the right partners into the equation, whether the partner makes the sensor itself or the partner makes the connectivity between the sensor and the data sync, or the partner that brings you the analytics, or the partner that brings you the fancy mobile application that presents that information and monetizes it in a useful way. All of this needs to be brought together to have an end-to-end solution. The last element I think is important is the testing. So you need to create a virtual lab or an open lab in which you actually test these solutions. Why is testing important? You don't want to find about the bugs or the problems in the security issues once it's in a production environment. You want to debug and get the right performance solution before it actually gets rolled out. So open labs play an extremely important element. So to summarize my talk, some key elements that I consider to be key: cybersecurity, connectivity, platform, big data and monetization, and finally an ecosystem and an open lab. Obviously, this is just a seed to put in your mind so you take home and you do something and into something bigger and better. So these are my contact details. I think we have Amar and others that are coordinating that with the remaining attendees here today.